Hi everyone, my name is Dan Barry, and this is a presentation to describe the Modeling Analysis Predictions Projections program and its FY 2023, fiscal year 2023 solicitations, which came out last Friday. The MAPP team is composed of myself, I'm the program manager for the program, Courtney Bird, who's the program specialist, and David Benson, who's the program analyst. You're going to hear from both of them in a few slides. So as an overview of the presentation today, what I'm going to talk about is the background to our program, what our program does, where it's situated at NOAA, what its mission and goals are, and then talk a little bit about the two solicitations we've issued for fiscal year 2023. We're going to have a question and answer via the website, so you can submit a question using the Google form on the website, and we will try to put an answer to that question on the same page within 24 to 48 hours. So it's kind of an open public FAQ that we'll construct from any questions you have for us based on this presentation. The MAPP program is part of the Earth System Science and Modeling Division at the Climate Program Office. It's one of three divisions in the office. CPO is part of the Office of Oceanic and Atmospheric Research, which is one of the line offices in NOAA. We work closely with many of the other line offices at NOAA, including NESDIS, the National Ocean Service, the Fisheries Service, the Weather Service, and other folks across the agency. There are two major research divisions in the Climate Program Office. One is labeled here as Informing Decisions. It's called the Climate and Societal Interactions Division. This division has a number of programs, including RISA, which is a well-known program that are focused on getting climate science into use by practitioners and stakeholders who need to make decisions in the context of climate change and climate variability. And our division, as I mentioned, ESSM, is focused more on the physical science questions. We have a number of different programs focused on climate processes, climate observations and monitoring, climate variability, and atmospheric chemistry as well. And what we try to do is work together across the program, across our divisions, to basically push research into use in society and into our operational use in the agency. We also serve very importantly as an extension arm in the agency to help the laboratories and the operational centers reach into the external community for collaboration and bring a lot of the ideas outside of the agency into the agency to help advance our agency mission. The MAPP program is primarily focused on Earth system models and applying those models to societal problems. We support a variety of different types of research projects. We like to see transition of some of the research into applied use or operational use. That could be model improvements or new monitoring products that are derived through research projects. And we try, as I mentioned, to build on the research that's funded by other programs. So for example, the Climate Variability and Predictability Program, which is in our same division, may fund a field study or process research or idealized model development. And what we'll do in the MAPP program is try to bring that into the model development practices at NOAA, or try to bring the understanding of predictability that's gained through CVP's research into the model world and think about predictability and prediction in our modeling systems at NOAA. And again, what we're trying to do is really extend the work that our leading labs and operational centers do inside the agency and extend their mission and broaden their mission and bring in the good ideas from outside of the agency to help advance the agency mission. We have a number of partners that we've engaged with over many years in the program. One of the competitions that I'm going to talk about today is in partnership with the National Integrated Drought Information System program, which we've worked with for about a decade. We've worked with the Weather Service, with the Department of Energy outside of the agency, with NASA, and of course many of the laboratories and operational centers at NOAA over the years. We participate actively in many interagency and intergovernmental groups and international groups as well, very involved with US GWEX, very involved with the US Global Change Research Program, WCRP activities outside of GWEX, many different activities that we engage with as a program. Our research serves to benefit a number of the different mission areas and line offices within NOAA. As I mentioned, we work quite a bit now with the Fisheries Line Office. We're increasingly working with the National Ocean Service, and we have a long history of working with NESDIS and the Weather Service. And we are focused on ensuring that our research is useful to stakeholders and individuals who consume the data and products and information services that come out of NOAA, and that we're advancing those products and services. I'm going to move over to Courtney now, who's going to talk about the next few slides. So Courtney.
Hi, I'm Courtney Bird. I'm the program specialist for MAPP. So MAPP has a fairly broad footprint. This map shows all of the universities and private sector entities that have received funding from MAPP in fiscal year 2022. It demonstrates the wide geographic diversity of award recipients, as well as NOAA's need for contributions from a diverse array of research institutions to fulfill the agency's mission. And we also work with many federal laboratories and collaborative institutes that are shown on this slide. MAPP does encourage co-partnerships on research projects with federal entities, both inside the agency and outside. MAPP supports projects that are meant to advance NOAA's mission, though not all projects may be in a transition phase, so they may not produce a product, service, or capability that can be transitioned into operations. MAPP works in the context of the research and development funnel that you see on the right-hand side. Many of the projects operate at different levels of readiness. Some projects may be more exploratory, while others may result in a transition to a laboratory or operational center at NOAA. At MAPP, we really encourage community engagement and coordination. We participate in a lot of interagency activities. We also encourage and support our investigators to organize or lead community activities. For example, our CMIP 6 task force organized the write-a-thon, and this was to advance research for paper writing and research at all different levels. So our task forces work as a platform for communication and collaboration, and MAPP currently has 5 ongoing task forces.
Thanks, Courtney. David is going to go through the next few slides.
Hi, I'm David Benson, and I'm a program analyst here at MAPP. So MAPP has several research-focused areas, which includes, but is not limited to, climate analysis and monitoring, which involves understanding climate processes, developing climate monitoring products, and attribution of climate events. There's the climate and Earth system model development research that involves advancing statistical and dynamical modeling, including multi-model ensemble prediction systems, understanding model biases, and improving model processes and model physics. There's drought, marine, and other applications research, which deals with assessing and planning for drought, understanding marine ecosystems, and applying NOAA's climate modeling and data capabilities to applied problems. And then we also have climate projections research, which involves developing projection products using CMIP and other data sets. And all these focus areas and other research that's being funded through MAPP are strongly relevant to NOAA CPO's climate risk areas, which are heat and human health, water resources, marine ecosystems, and coastal inundation. Now, coming back to task forces, which Courtney mentioned previously, these are coordinated research efforts by MAPP investigators on the topic of a particular grant competition. In the past, we've had the Climate Reanalysis Task Force, which was tied to research focused on climate analysis and monitoring. It's the Model Diagnostics and Climate Sensitivity Task Force, which is tied to research on climate and system model development. There's the Drought Task Force and the Marine Task Force, the Marine Ecosystem Task Force, which are tied to those research areas, and also the CMIP 6 Task Force, which recently ended earlier this year, which is focused on climate projections. So these task forces have been shown to be really helpful to the investigators, and an anonymous review of MAPP task forces showed that participation was highly valued by the funded investigators. The feedback indicated that the task forces helped build community and that they had positive impacts on professional development, particularly with early career scientists. And they found success in collaboration through publications and community building. The task forces provided opportunities for cross-project collaboration and as well as networking. The review found that the majority of the members of the task forces had great overall experiences, and that includes the usefulness of telecons, the usefulness of group activities, and the task force participants felt that their participation was a worthwhile time commitment as well. In the MAPP program, we have over 100 principal investigators engaged annually, and we have over 80 ongoing projects. There's 200 plus sponsored publications every year in special issues and special collections of journals. And we have several transitions of research into operations, research into applications, and research to development every year. And there are numerous community reports from MAPP organized workshops and other activities that help inform NOAA as a whole. Now, there are a number of aspects unique to being a MAPP-funded investigator and a NOAA grant recipient. NOAA has specific reporting requirements and requests an annual report each year of the project, as well as a summary report at the end of the project. Our task forces provide a platform for communication and collaboration across the funded investigators, and we promote the work of funded investigators through climate.gov and other outlets, including the newly released heat.gov and the NIDIS website. And funded investigators and managers organize and lead sessions at several community events, such as HU and AMS.
Okay, thank you, David and Courtney. I'm now going to take the mic back and talk a little bit about the competitions that we are running in fiscal year 2023. There are two competitions, as I mentioned. They were released on Friday, July 29th, 2022. They're part of CPO's annual Notice of Federal Funding Opportunity, which has a number of competitions across a handful of programs in the office. And you can download the application materials and package at grants.gov. And also, I'd encourage you to maybe start with CPO's own funding opportunities website, which is linked here. It's also in the navigation bar of CPO's homepage, and you can find it there. Letters of intent for this NOFO are due at 5 p.m. on September 1st, 2022, or before 5 p.m., and applications and proposals are due to grants.gov by 5 p.m. on November 21st. As I mentioned, we have two competitions in MAPP, which I'm going to talk about shortly, and we ask that proposals only target one of these two competitions, so please do not try to address both solicitations in the same proposal. The first solicitation is a collaboration between the National Integrated Drought Information System and MAPP. We have been collaborating for about a decade now, and this will constitute a new set of investments in drought science and model-oriented drought science for the United States. The title of the competition is Science for the 21st Century Western U.S. Hydroclimate. You can tell by the title and the pictures that we're focusing in on the water crisis that is ongoing and seems to be increasing in the Western United States. We funded research over the years that has looked at Western hydroclimate and drought, how drought varies on a variety of different timescales, decadal, seasonal, millennial. There are a variety of timescales that are relevant to drought in the Southwest, and how climate change is affecting drought phenomenology as well in the Southwestern United States. And there's a lot more work to be done to understand, but also to advance our capabilities to deal with this new and very challenged hydroclimate in the West, where there are pretty significant decisions looming on water management, especially, for example, in the Colorado River Basin, but also throughout other river basins throughout the Western United States. And we're hoping to fund a set of projects that can really help to advance our understanding and preparedness for this growing crisis in the West. We want to see projects that are really going to be able to help stakeholders, water managers, and other folks who are involved with the water systems of the West and users of water in the West to be able to prepare for what's coming. And this involves many of the traditional elements of MAPP NIDIS calls, including advancing monitoring products, focusing on predictability, interactions between natural variability and climate change, and delineating the effects of those two forcings on drought in the West. For monitoring in particular, we would love to see the development of monitoring approaches, products that are well suited for the hydroclimate of the West, which is, of course, different from the Midwestern, Southeastern, Northeastern, Caribbean hydroclimate in the United States. And we do like to see investigators utilize, if possible, NOAA models and prediction systems in their work, and also and think about operational products that can come out of their work. We would like to see proposals and letters of intent that articulate clearly the relevance of the work and value of the work for NIDIS, which is working very hard as a program to advance resilience to drought throughout the country, but especially in the West. And we would like to see that articulated, that value to NIDIS articulated clearly in the materials that you submit. The funding level for this competition is up to $250,000 per year for 3 years. You don't have to go up to the cap. You can use anything up to $250,000 as your limit for the yearly request for funding. And I'll mention that there are many more details on this competition in the information sheet on the NOFO website on CPO. The second competition is titled Climate Futures, Projections for Societally Relevant Problems. This is a reinvestment in the area of projections for the MAPP program. We've funded projections research for quite a long time, going back to CMIP3. And in particular, what we're looking to do here is fund a couple of different kinds of projects. The first type of project is more of a traditional small proposal that will focus on advancing and developing projections. I'll talk about that a little bit on the next slide. The other type of proposal is more of a team proposal to set up a capability at NOAA to deliver projections, services, and products to the public and to customers and stakeholders of our agency. There is a huge amount of infrastructure investment currently occurring in the United States that requires climate information to be able to adequately brace that infrastructure for changes that are coming down the pike in the United States. And currently, climate projection information tends to be provided to stakeholders and users in a very heterogeneous fashion in the United States through individual research grants and collaborations, through regional activities, through private sector engagements. And we view it as essential for NOAA to provide information in the way that we do for weather forecasts, for climate monitoring products, that's consistent and homogeneous and uses similar and transparent approaches to providing this information and couching the uncertainty of probabilities in the future for stakeholders who need information. This is a really important aspect of creating equity in climate services and information for communities, stakeholders who do not have the budget to purchase information and climate projection products, but nevertheless need to prepare for the impacts of climate change and climate variability. And so we are envisioning setting up a capability at NOAA that will be able to do this for customers, much in the way that we do. We provide services and products for stakeholders interested on weather forecasts and weather impacts, or for information services and products for observed climate impacts and monitoring products, like through the National Centers for Environmental Information and the regional climate centers, as an example. So as I mentioned, we're looking for two kinds of proposals. Both proposals, we would really like to see the use of GFDL's SPEAR dataset, which is a large ensemble that has radiatively forced model runs, and the atmospheric data is at a resolution of 50 kilometers, and there's a low ocean resolution attached in the modeling system that SPEAR uses. There are a variety of variables. SPEAR is relatively limited, but there may be the possibility of additional variables becoming available to funded investigators. So we do want you to identify those variables in your LOIs and proposals. But we want you to use this data from SPEAR in addition to other data sets, other large ensemble data sets like NCAR's large ensemble, like CMIP6 data, CMIP5 data, and other data sets that are available to the community for this work. You can also do some secondary modeling if you are looking at a system like the coastline or the boundary layer, where the information from a general circulation model is not going to be adequate for that particular system or variable that you're interested in. But we do want to see an emphasis on using and interrogating SPEAR data as part of the projects in the context of other data sets. For the type 1 projects, the smaller research projects, we are allowing a funding level of up to $200,000 per year. And for the type 2 project, we are allowing up to $2 million per year for the first 4 years and $1 million per year for the 5th year. That project hopefully will engage external partners outside of the agency, in addition to institutions inside the agency, such as the laboratories and operational centers. And I encourage you also to consult the information sheet for this solicitation, where there is a lot more information available on what we're looking for and the motivation behind this activity. The last few slides are going to go through the application and review process. For proposals, we have a 2-stage review process at CPO. First, the proposal is reviewed by the Stage 1 panel, which is composed of scientific experts who are qualified to review the subject matter in the proposals, including methods and focus areas. And they will assess the proposal for its scientific merit, for the qualifications of the applicants, and for the budget. The score that comes out of that panel accounts for 75% of the final score. So really the most significant aspect of our evaluation comes from this panel and the community's assessment of the quality of the research, the researchers, and the budget, and the overarching idea in the proposal and the approach. After the stage 1 panel, any proposals that score above a 3 on a scale of 1 to 5 averaged will go on to a stage 2 panel where the relevance to the program and the solicitation and NOAA's mission will be evaluated. That counts for 25% of the final score and helps us ensure that we have a diversity of different types of proposals with different ideas coming from different geographic regions, submitted by different institutions. We want to see a diverse array of proposals funded. And so the stage 2 panel considers some of those aspects of the proposals in the final funding decisions. We take the rank from these 2 panels and ultimately fund in the rank order as it's given by the panels. We have an acceptance rate typically of about 1/4 to 1/3 of all of the proposals that are submitted. This can vary. It's almost never below 1/4. Sometimes it is above 1/3 in terms of the ratio of successful proposals to received proposals. And I will mention that it's a very long process. So the solicitation was released in July. We likely will not be able to make final decisions on proposals until we get a budget. In recent years, that has not happened until May. In this year, in FY22's case, it didn't happen until June. So bear with us. We are working on it. We're getting the proposals reviewed. We work very quickly once we get our budget from Congress and the agency to make funding decisions. But it's a slow process from the approval of a budget in Congress until it actually gets to the level of a program like MAPP. So it does take some time. Even when you see the news article that Congress has passed the budget, there's still going to be a little bit of a lag until we can make funding decisions. In terms of getting started, again, you should go to grants.gov to download the application package if you're applying for a grant. And of course, go to the CPO's NOFO website to view the funding opportunity and all of the information sheets and to get other information about the solicitations this year. The NOFO has many elements that tell you about the aspects of a proposal that we need to see, what should be on the cover page, how long the body of the proposal should be, current and pending funding, CVs, and other information that we require to review the proposals and to constitute a complete application. And the information sheets contain a lot of the subject matter information to describe the solicitation and more precisely what we're looking for. So make sure that you consult those carefully. The letter of intent process is optional, although it's highly, highly encouraged that you participate in this process. The reason we have a process like this, many programs do not have a letter of intent process, but at CPO we generally do, is because we want to save you time. We don't want you to go and write a complete proposal and go through the application process with your Office of Sponsored Programs and with grants.gov if the idea that you are coming up with is not ultimately going to be found to be relevant to our program or the solicitation. We want to save you time if you're a little bit off the mark and provide some feedback to you from the program initially before you launch into the process of writing a full proposal, which is very time consuming. So the LOI should be 2 pages in length, fairly brief. It should give a general sense of the shape of the project. What are you going to do? What data sets are you using? What methods are you going to use? Who may be involved in the project? What do you think the title is going to be? How is it relevant to the solicitation, the program, the agency, etc.? This is not etched in stone. So I know 1 month is not a very long amount of time to come up with a letter of intent, especially if you have multiple collaborators on the potential project. You can change the PIs, the title can change, the details of the work can of course change as you get towards the proposal, but you should have a pretty good 50-60% idea of what you're going to be proposing when you write a letter of intent and submit it. But we understand that it's not very much time to pull all of the details and team and everything together within 1 month. MAPP has a Google form that you should use to submit the letter of intent. That's our preferred method to get the letter of intent to us. If you're not comfortable using the Google form or can't for some reason, you can email it to us. All of this is spelled out in our information sheet, but we do prefer to receive it through the Google form because it helps us organize everything and start reviewing the LOIs as quickly as we can. We want to get an answer back to you as fast as possible so you have as much time as possible to work on the proposal. You'll receive one of 3 types of responses from us. We may just fully encourage a proposal. We think the idea is relevant and you should go ahead. We may discourage a proposal because we thought that the idea was maybe not relevant to the solicitation or not relevant to the competition, or maybe in some cases there's too much apparent competition in a particular area of the solicitation. And so we may try to provide a little bit of advice that that area is going to be highly competitive for the proposals in case you want to evaluate whether to go ahead and submit one or not. In between those two outcomes, we sometimes send sort of marginal encouragement letters. These are not intended to dissuade you, but to sort of draw your attention to the fact that based on the LOI, we felt there were some elements of what you are envisioning that might be a little bit off base, and you're going to want to tune that up in the proposal stage. So it's not discouraging you. It's just saying, you know, if you are going to submit a proposal, please pay attention to some of these areas or pay closer attention to the information sheet details to fine-tune your proposal to make sure that it's found to be relevant. We will try to get back your a response to your LOI by September 29th. That's 4 weeks after the submission date. And we will not be evaluating scientific merit. Our priority is to get back to you as quickly as possible. If we can do this, we will try to provide 1 or 2 sentences that articulate our thoughts on your letter of intent to give you a sense of our initial disposition toward the project and why we rejected it, encouraged it, or why we gave you a marginal encouragement to help you fine-tune it. But I can't guarantee that we'll be able to provide that information. Our priority will be a fast feedback process as opposed to a robust feedback process. We want to get the decisions out as quickly as possible. And I will ask, sometimes we get emails that are kind of like, you know, what do you think about this idea? How about this paragraph? Please try not to send us those emails. The letter of intent process is intended to provide that kind of feedback on your ideas. So just try to focus on providing the letter of intent and allowing us to review that instead of emailing us outside of the letter of intent process with ideas. Appreciate that. For the full application, again, there are 4 review criteria that you should pay attention to. The NOFO goes into detail on what needs to be in an application and in the proposal document that you submit. Some of those aspects are called out here in brief, but you have to be sure to review the NOFO to make sure that you're getting all of the details right, because applications can be rejected if they do not meet the standards that are supplied in the NOFO. Some other general guidance, make sure you're clear to us about what competition you're targeting. That's going to be very easy if you submit the LOI through the Google form, because there will be a radio button for the proposal. Just put the competition on your title page and you'll be fine. If you have questions about the NOFO, anything that's in the NOFO that's not sort of related to the program or to the scientific content of the proposal or the information sheet, you should send those questions to Diane Brown. She's the manager of all of the logistics for our grants process and for the NOFO. For MAPP, we have a small computational allocation on the Gaia supercomputer, which is a climate supercomputer at NOAA. We can get external investigators access to this computer, and there is a form in the information sheet you can submit with your proposal if you would like to gain access to some HPC resources on the system. It's a very large and powerful system that you can use to do model runs. It's not as good for analysis processes. You probably want to do analysis on a local cluster, but if you have some runs that you'd like to do, you can request these resources. And there is a data sharing plan expectation for the proposals, and that's called out in the NOFO and the information sheets. Thank you for logging in. We do encourage you to submit questions via the form on this page, and we'll try to get back to them as soon as possible. We'll post the answers for everyone to see on this page where the video is hosted. We will not identify the question asker when we respond to it. So it's really just going to be kind of an FAQ. Please try not to send us questions about ideas. Just send us questions that are sort of general clarification. Could be on some of the science that's called out in the information sheets. But in general, things that will be relevant to other interested investigators, not only to yourself, and relevant to your idea that's percolating for response to the solicitation. So thanks from all of us, from Courtney and David and me, for watching all the way through this video. We appreciate your interest in the MAPP program. We're looking forward to engaging with you throughout this FY23 solicitation process, and wish you the best of luck preparing letters of intent and proposals, and best of luck in the process, the review process with the panels. Thank you for your interest. Take care.